What's going on, Alabama fans? How are you doing today? Big slap right there for National Signing Day. This is Patrick Greenfield. I am here with Nick Alvarez, our AL.com recruiting writer. We're here to recap what is used to be such a really fun day. They've obviously shifted that to December. What is National Signing Day? We'll get into what Alabama kind of wrapped up today, but just kind of initial thoughts on this signing class, if you can, Nick.
Yeah, well, it's my first one of these, and I think Alabama really kind of came out with the best they could do, especially coming off of last year's historic group. I put something up on AL.com yesterday about Alabama not really getting the #1 class, and that not really being a storyline because of the in-state group that specifically Alabama was able to put together this year, and then there's some of the other big names they're able to pull in from Florida and Louisiana. Overall, it's pretty strong. You can nitpick a few things, but I mean, overall, it's Alabama, and like I said, and like John Garcia from Sports Illustrated mentioned in the piece, their prestige is #1. They have it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's really, we could talk about the NIL deals and what Saban said a little bit, but a lot of this is the law of attraction. Guys want to go to where they can, one, improve their craft, and two, improve their draft stock, so they can eventually make a career playing football. And you can't fault any player for choosing Alabama for any of those reasons. The only really big signee today, obviously a lot of the guys for Alabama kind of inked in December, was Danny Lewis from New Iberia, Louisiana. Can you kind of break down what you saw from him today? Top 3 of LSU, Florida, and Bama, correct?
Yeah, Danny Lewis, you put on his film and you kind of laugh a little bit at the first clip on his huddle. He's just bursting through the open field, like pushes one guy down and then kind of stumbles and catches his feet again. He's a big kid, 6'4", really athletic. At Westgate High, where he played, they used him out on the boundary sometimes, and schools would somehow only put a corner on him with no safety help, and he took advantage of that downfield. He also was an inline blocker. He also did a pretty good job, I saw, at finding some holes in the zone when releasing from the line. Overall, it's a nice piece when Alabama needed that. I use needed in quotes there. When Alabama had an opening for that third tight end spot when Jaleel Skinner flipped to Miami back in December.
Absolutely. And let's go through the whole recap of the offense. I think one thing interesting about Danny Lewis is he becomes almost that. I'll let you guys see it here. Kind of a small thing right there. He becomes kind of that third tight end. You have Elijah Brown from Ohio, and then Amari Kneeblack, which I think is deemed Godzilla or T-Rex.
Yeah.
He has a pretty cool nickname right there. This is the Alabama 2022 offense signing class, headlined by 5-star quarterback Ty Simpson, 5-star running back Emmanuel Henderson. Obviously, a lot of the Louisiana wide receivers, Aaron Anderson, Chaz Preston. If you kind of want to break some of this down and what you like.
Yeah, I mean, just a real quick start at the top. Ty Simpson, just his kind of period since committing has been pretty special. Wins a state title after losing it in his junior year, was named Gatorade Player of the Year for the 2nd year in a row, and then picks up a 5th star from some recruiting services after kind of competing in some kind of showcases. Just is coming in with the momentum that you kind of want after also being an early enrollee and getting to help Alabama a little bit in its prep for the national title game.
Absolutely.
And then kind of going just real quick back to the tight ends, what I think is interesting with Danny Lewis is that he's kind of a mix of what Elijah Brown can do, which is very good kind of blocking, kind of move the line piece tight end. And then, like you said, with Kneeblack, who's just an absolute kind of just weapon on the field. And I think yeah, go ahead.
After you. No. I was only going to explain to the viewers. I had used to make graphics with 5 stars and 4 stars. I didn't want to do that because I think it's a little bit subjective for a lot of these guys. And another part, once you step on the campus, you are a 0-star. You are, unless you're very special, you're going to be just another person on that depth chart. Obviously, you mentioned Ty Simpson being able to practice with the team during the Cotton Bowl and national championship. Which of these guys do you, on the offensive side, do you have the most potential? Sorry, getting a little word jumble right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a little bit of recency bias on my part, but I think Aaron Anderson is an absolute kind of stud of a prospect. Right. I think he just kind of has that kind of shiftiness and that explosive ability where they're going to find ways to get him the ball, I think, once he's kind of been able, like you said, getting on campus, proving, hey, I can kind of just play here. I think he's someone to watch. I also think on the offensive line, there will just be opportunity there because Saban has been telling recruits in the past few weeks, and they've come out and said this through multiple outlets, hey, we need some linemen. And we think that you guys potentially be a part of it. The first
Yeah.
crop to potentially feel that is going to be Tyler Booker, Dane Shore, and Elijah Pritchett, who across the board, specifically with Booker and Pritchett, there's some varying kind of observations on how good of an offensive line prospect each of them are. They both, I think, are no lesser than a 4-star, but there is kind of, we'll wait and see what some of the prospects are there.
Yeah, and feel free, Alabama fans, to sound off in the comments. I think nobody's going to argue that Alabama needs to kind of retool that offensive line after last year, and especially after losing Evan Neal this year. I will say, it was a big haul last year. It was a historic #1 recruiting class, but you didn't see Tommy Brockmeyer, the #1 offensive lineman in the nation. He didn't even play last year. J.C. Latham kind of was put into a little bit of action. I think we'll see a lot of him. So even though you have these historic classes and Saban keeps reeling them in for obvious reasons, some of these guys might sit a year or two and hopefully will not enter the transfer portal for Tide fans, that is. So let's switch over to the defense. All right. We'll throw up my Auburn graphic right there. I also put in the transfers on this one just because I think that's kind of relevant. But why don't you talk about the defense with Jeremiah Alexander and Giad Campbell, the kind of headlining that?
Yeah, I mentioned Ty Simpson was a riser. Campbell even more so. He really showed at the Under Armour game that he can kind of be really versatile on the defensive end. It's impressing a lot of people, and then also as a pass rusher, just kind of being as good as advertised, which is going to be really exciting to look at when you kind of think, oh wow, Alabama's getting another potentially really, really good kind of outside linebacker type prospect. We've talked a lot about Curtis Perry in the past and Jeremiah Alexander.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
I'm out up in Hoover, and we must be having something going on right now.
Yeah,
why don't you keep going? I'll mute this.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the defensive line, but I think Alabama the past few years has just really kind of pumped out secondary talent, and then you've seen them recruit secondary talent to keep kind of that feed going. You're not really seeing a drop off, in my opinion, and what Traquan Tragans and Earl Little can do on the outside. Traquan from nearby Thompson, he had a phenomenal playoffs. Coach Mark Freeman said that since he flipped from Miami to Alabama at the behest of teammate Jeremiah Alexander, he kind of just played with a clear head. He had, I believe, 2 or 3 interceptions in the playoffs, and was kind of just the guy that I don't know. I think I saw more than a 4-star personally, but which gets me to one of the transfers. Eli Rix comes in as a 5-star.
Absolutely.
Just kind of the rich get richer type situation here. There's an insane amount of depth in Alabama on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see Eli Rix, probably aside from Kool-Aid over there, but I'm actually really interested in Sean Murphy. He was I want to say he was the Gatorade linebacker of the year nationally. He's only rated as a 4-star, but that's somebody to look out for. Real fast back to Giad. I hear almost Will Anderson comparisons about these guys. I think Alexander and Giad could both play kind of that defensive edge linebacker spot. I just have the DE there for placement, but that is somebody to really, really look forward to. And I think if anybody's seen me over the past year, I love Jeremiah Alexander, been to a few Thompson games, but Campbell is a guy that, might pack another punch in there with Dallas Turner and Will Anderson. So,
real quick on Campbell, watch a few minutes of his film and just count the different number of moves he can pull off, even as a high school senior. It's just really impressive, and you want to see where the growth is.
Absolutely. Real fast, we kind of looked at both of the sides and the transfers. Just want to finish up with kind of Nick Saban, and he obviously just had his signing day recap. We'll have that video on AL.com, but he had some things to say about the NIL yesterday, and then a few more things to say today with Jimbo Fisher kind of coming back at him. Can you kind of explain that to the viewers who weren't able to see it?
Yeah, so I think the big conversation with NIL lately has been what advantage is this offering to schools and how are they using it, if it's been legit or not. And Jimbo Fisher, I don't know what necessarily triggered it, but he decided to all but accuse schools essentially kind of exploiting NIL and kind of how it's been set up and kind of this kind of wild west of this first year. And Nick Saban kind of chiming in on it, reiterated in another forceful way what he's been saying from the beginning, which is we're offering the players the best opportunities, period. We're not recruiting them based on what they could earn from NIL. And what is said and what is done can be completely 2 different things. but it just seems like coaches are kind of getting a little testy on the idea of what they're allowed to do or say with no real
And
governing body
I
on this.
believe some of it was Lane Kiffin kind of saying, "Wow, how much did Texas A&M pay for that class?" And then Jimbo today saying, Saban had no problem talking about Bryce Young's NIL money last year. So yeah, it's some SEC West drama right there. But I also, like I said, law of attraction. I don't think even obviously before the NIL, Saban did not need that to get top talent. There is a system there. There's a system to grow you as a player. There's a system to get you to the league. That's why a lot of these guys choose to go to Alabama. It's not necessarily about the money, because the money that you can make at a car dealership is not going to be what the Philadelphia Eagles pay you.
It also should be noted that Alabama, because of the kind of confusion between the NCAA allowed, had one of the most restrictive NIL laws compared to some of the other states in the country.
Yes.
So it's not like Alabama really had the full scope of being able to benefit from NIL this year.
Right, and that's on another note. We keep going. Is Alabama, the program has a system in place to teach kids about the NIL, what's legal, what's not, what they can do. And you saw a lot of people. I think you saw Will Anderson. He didn't even want to do it last year because he knew it would be a distraction. And I think that's obviously paid off for him and will definitely pay off in next year's draft. So anything else you want to say about this class? I know it was kind of a slow day. All the fun is in December, but this is a 24 people, and Walter Bob's going to JUCO. It's another Louisiana guy before he might come back. Anything you want to throw down for our viewers about Alabama's class?
You mentioned this a little earlier. I'll just reiterate. I think patience can be a key for this class in terms of when we see them on the field. We hit on some of the guys who are going to make an immediate impact. Campbell, Alexander, Rix as a transfer. But for a lot of these guys, it's going to be, we're hearing good things about them. We're seeing good things. Some of them might transfer and post their awesome practice highlight videos and how they were able to put stuff together. But I think there's a lot of down the line, we're going to see this class really come together if it is as special as it looks on paper right now.
Absolutely. They loaded up on offense. I think that'll be a really interesting thing to keep looking at. Hey, Nick Alvarez, go follow him on AL.com. Follow him on Twitter. He's our recruiting writer. Just joined us last fall. He's got a lot of good stuff coming out. Nick, thank you once again, and we will look forward to getting you on our recruiting show a little bit later this year.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all take